Welcome back to Choose Math Tools. In this session, we are looking at more equations when our variables are on both sides of the equal sign. So this one is getting a little more complicated than the last ones that you saw. So make sure you stay tuned to see how to tackle these equations. So we are going to begin by first looking at our equations to evaluate what are our like and unlike terms. And remember that our like terms, when it comes to our variables, must have the exact same variable for one, and their exponents must be the same. So for this equation, we have 8c and 2c, and they are both like terms. So we are going to begin by collecting those terms together. So remember that we're looking at our variables and we're looking at the sign in front of them, and since our 2c is being added, that means that when we move it to the left hand side, we are going to be subtracting 2c from our 8c. And now we're going to put everything else back in our equation that we were not using or are not using. And then we're going to begin simplifying the left hand side of our equation. So we're subtracting 2c from 8c, which will equal to 6c. We're going to put back our plus 14 and return our 32 back to our equation. So now that we have simplified our now that we have simplified our variables, we're now going to collect our constants. And again, just like we did earlier, we're going to look at both of our terms, see what signs are in front of them, and since we're moving 14 in this case, we see that 14 is being added. So that means that on the right hand side of the equation, my 14 is going to be subtracted from my 32. So now that we've collected those terms, we're going to now simplify the right hand side of our equation, and 32 when subtracting 14 will equal to 18. So now that we have simplified both the left and the right hand side, and we've collected our like terms together, we're now going to move into our final one step of our equation, where we're going to be dividing both sides of the equation by our coefficient 6. And remember that both sides of the equation is always divided by that coefficient that is being multiplied to our variable. And since 6 is the coefficient that's being multiplied to our variable c, that means both sides will be divided by 6. So now let's simplify our equations. So we'll be dividing 6 into 6, which will equal to 1. And remember that your 1c is exactly the same as saying c. And now we're going to be dividing 6 into 18, which will equal to 3. So for this equation, my variable c is equal to 3. Okay, so now let's perform our check. So if we said that our variable c is equal to 3, that means to check, we're now going to be replacing c with 3 everywhere that it appears in our equation. And remember that we're checking or making sure that both sides of our equation is equal to the exact same number when we use 3 in place of c. So let's begin by simplifying the left hand side of our equation. So 3 times 8 is equal to 24. And 24 when added to 14 is equal to 38. So now we're going to simplify the right hand side, and we're returning our 32. And when 2 is multiplied to 3, this will equal to 6. And 32 plus 6 is equal to 38. So that means that when we got c equals 3, that is the correct solution for our equation. Okay, so this is the final example in this session. Remember to pause the video, solve the equation for yourself, and then when you're ready, unpause the video and work along with me to see if both of us got the exact same solution for our equation. Okay, so let's begin by collecting our like terms. And in this case, I'm going to begin by collecting my constants together. So I'm going to put back my 7d. return my 5D, put back my plus 26, and then I'm going to look at my 8. My 8 is being added here, so that means I'm going to be subtracting 8 from 26. So now let's return our 7D back to our equation on the left-hand side. I'm going to return my 5D on the right-hand side, and then we're going to simplify 26 and 8 by subtracting 8 from 26, which will equal to 18. So now we are going to simplify our variables since we've already done with the constants. Now let's look at our variables, and I'm going to be moving in this step. I'm going to be moving my 5D to my 7D. So I'm going to return my 7D back to the equation. Looking at my 5D, since 5 is positive, that means I'm going to be subtracting 5D from my 7D. And remember that we return everything else back to the equation that we didn't use, which is my 18 in this case. So now let's simplify the left-hand side of our equation. And when 7D minus 5D, this will equal to 2D. So now that we have collected both our constant and our variable, let's perform our last step, which is going back to our one-step equation. When we have 2 times d, that means that we are going to be dividing both sides of the equation by my coefficient. And remember, the coefficient is the number that's multiplied to your letter. And since 2 is multiplied to d, that means both sides of our equation will be divided by 2. So when 2 divides into 2, this will leave us with just d. And now we're going to be dividing 2 into 18, which will equal to 9. So for this equation, my variable d is equal to 9. Okay, so let's perform our check. Remember that we said that d is equal to 9. So we are now substituting 9 for d everywhere that it appears in our equation. And we are solving to make sure that both the left and the right-hand side of the equation equals to the exact same amount. So let's begin by working out our right-hand side in this case. So I'm going to work a little different. So 5 times 9 is going to equal to 45. And when 45 is added to 26, this will give us to 71. So now let's work out the left-hand side. And we have 7 times 9, which is equal to 63. 63, when added to 8, is equal to 71. So we see that both sides of the equation equals to the same thing. So that means that d equals 9 is the correct solution for our equation. Okay, so I hope this video is very helpful to you. I hope it helped you with solving two-step equations when you have variables on both sides of the equation. And make sure, as always, to get some additional practice in to help develop your skills so that you can solve these type of equations like a pro and not even think twice about it. And remember to give this video a thumbs up if it was very helpful to you. And we'll see you right here in the next video on Joe's Math Tools, where we make math easy.